The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Hump Day.
The day after a council meeting.
The day after the council meetings, yep.
And yesterday's big topic was, are you ready? Purple bags.
No.
Purple bags.
Have we heard that before?
I think so.
And how many times have we've been hearing that, what, since prior
Flanagan.
to the recall, right?
Since Flanagan, yes. Well, here's the thing. The city council wants to know, are we getting rid of these purple bags or not? This morning on Facebook, people are all saying, do we have to use the purple bags now? Do we have to use the purple bags? Yes, you have to use the purple bags. The purple bags have not been rescinded.
Unless you're one of those people that have never used them, then you don't have to. Don't worry, because you're not going to get fined. So.
Exactly. I drove in this morning. I was coming down one of the side streets. All of a sudden, I look at all the barrels. They all had black bags and white bags in them. I didn't see one purple bag.
Yeah.
So I guess it's optional, but so the city said that they have to look at the numbers and the figures and figure out this is the administration. And they were called out on it by Sean Kadim. Sean Kadim said very clearly, and he's right, pay-as-you-throw programs work everywhere else in the Commonwealth except Fall River. What's the problem? He goes, this is $2 million, because, and they're still not meeting projections. It's only $2 million right now. And they're still not meeting their projections. And unless you can guarantee that all the fire stations are going to be up to code and we're going to be fully staffed, I can't see a reason to get rid of the $2 million. Now, I don't know if he's looking for it to get reelected or not, but then he turned around and he says, and it's really a shame that the administration would turn around and say, I'm getting rid of the purple bags just to be elected.
But it's true.
Exactly.
The statement in most people's estimate, but he also promised to get rid of the purple bags in the previous budget.
Exactly.
And he didn't. And again, he's probably not going to get it because, look, no, he's right. But then again, Fall River is the Riv. I mean, I don't know if I agree with it. You know, why doesn't it work in Fall River? It's because it's Fall River. That's why. We're the Riv. We do everything in the complete opposite of the rest of the state for the most part. But the reality is, it's even a bigger number than that. Had they actually, because what they do is they implement a plan, and then they half took us it. So the reality is that how much would this actually bring in if they enforced it? Because I'll tell you what, tomorrow's my barrel day. I'll drive down by my street, and I know there's at least 2 houses there that I have never seen a purple bag in their trash since the beginning of this program. Not like just recently, but never, ever. And I'm sure they never got fined because then they'd probably start using them. So why doesn't it work in Fall River? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but that doesn't surprise me. But the reality is, in order to make it work in Fall River, if it's ever going to work,
you got to make it here.
you've got to enforce it. You've got to make everybody do it. And they don't. And the reality is, he's right. If we enforced it, who knows? We might get $4 million out of the deal. And can we afford it? And I know what they're going to say. They're going to look at anticipated money, because that's what he always does. Oh, we made a deal for signs, and we made this deal, and we're going to get money from the cannabis places, and we're going to, you know, there's an old adage, you know, don't count your chickens before they hatch. You know, this anticipated money, that's how we ended up with Flanagan being $8 million in the hole. not worrying about pending bills like the closing of the landfill and all the collective bargaining agreement pay raises and a whole myriad of other issues. And what happened? We ended up in the hole. And we've said, you know, since we began this discussion, you can't take $2 million out of the budget without replacing that $2 million, because that $2 million is paying for something. It's in your budget. It's like saying, well, I'm going to take out the $200 a month that I have to pay to the gas company on my budget plan. I'm just going to take that out of my budget. Well, you still have to pay your gas bill. It comes due. And if you take that $200 a month and give it to assign it to something else, which they'll do, or it's no longer there, if you lose $200 a month in your paycheck for some reason, they stop giving you overtime, you got a problem. If you put that overtime into your budget rather than just your regular pay, just basic, simple household economics, it still applies to cities. They got more money to move around, to rob Peter, to pay Paul, to pay the bills. But that's the reason we're always in so much trouble. But, you know, it's a joke. And like he said, unless we're 100% sure that we're going to maintain the buildings, not only the schools, but the fire stations and the police stations and every city-owned building, how can you do that? And he was right, except because making it a campaign promise to get reelected. So, you know, again, but we have another case of the city council flapping a lot of gums there. But what's going to really happen? What are they going to do when it comes down to it? Because so far they've talked about a lot of issues in the city, and sometimes they've been on point.
Right, but
then they don't do anything.
But here's my thing: we're talking about a $10 million stabilization fund now. Where did that come from? People always say, where did that come from? I'm going to tell you where it came from. Free cash. The free cash accounts in the past 3 years have all been in excess of $2 and $3 million. Some even were as high as $5 million. Now, if you're talking $2 million for pay-as-you-throw, take it out. Because it's got, and I said this to Linda Pereira when she was running, and I've said this to other people when they're running. It makes no sense to have all that extra free cash if you're not going to have a program that you can fund. If you got $2 million coming out of the budget and you have $2 million excess free cash, guess what? It's a wash.
Yeah, well, you know, but see, that's the problem. People don't understand how these budgets work because they've perpetrated this myth, this propaganda about it. When you have excess money at the end of the year, it means you didn't budget properly in a city, you tax too much.
That's right.
That's what it means. And they're going to go, oh, no, that's not it. It's because we got money from Blue Cross. Well, guess what? The concept that most people don't grasp is the city is not a person. You have your budget. And what's left over allows you to go on vacation once in a while. You got your gas bill and your telephone bill and your cable bill and all the bills, and you figure that out and you put it down. And then you have to have your grocery money. And all of you have gone through a divorce, which is about 50% of the population or more. You have to fill out a form with all those expenses. But when you go through all those expenses and you have some money left, that's the money you can put in a savings account, you can save to go on a vacation. The city doesn't have to go on a vacation. The city does not have to have extra money, because you know what the city does with extra money? They give all their friends pay raises.
They have stipends.
And they create new jobs with them to spend more of our tax money. Do you really want to know why taxes continue to go up? That's the reason. The city of Fall River is not a person. It's a government. And the government's job is to provide essential services to the community. But they don't. They tax and tax and tax, and then they have all this extra money at the end of the year, which means that they've overtaxed. But then they figure out a way to spend it. Pay raises, stipends, new jobs for their friends.
Lawsuits.
Lawsuits, yeah, there we go. Yeah, they just lost another one, huh?
Yep.
And Joe Macy was very upset. He was very disappointed in that decision.
Yes, he was.
You know, even though it was a clear violation of the law,
Yep.
and he was a judge, but he was disappointed. I guess he figured that he can violate the law because he's a former judge and because it's Fall River. And many people don't remember that, but I'm going to have to go up into the attic and dig it out of my files. You know, it was a while ago now when the federal judge in Boston, and it was in the Herald News, he was quoted as saying, "I'm sick and tired of seeing Fall River in my courtroom for disobeying the law."
And we haven't changed.
And we haven't changed, and that was probably 10 years ago. And, you know, a federal judge basically said, look, I'm sick and tired of you people coming up here. When are you going to begin to understand that you have to obey the law? But no, they're disappointed when they can't violate the law. It's like, how dare you? Don't you understand this is the Riv? And, you know, we got to tell Sean, you can't make those logical statements in the city council chamber in Fall River. You don't say, I don't understand why it doesn't work in Fall River. You just gave the reason. It's Fall River.
You accept the fact and move on. Well, I guess we're a lightning rod here in Fall River.
Yes, yes.
We made the cover of Commonwealth magazine.
Uh-huh.
And who was on the cover? Mayor Jazel Correa.
Yeah.
And it said the column opens with Mayor Jazel Correa should be riding high, but these are trying times.
Yeah.
They victimized him in this column.
Yeah, well, I think the title is Fall River's Lightning Rod.
Yes.
So he's the lightning rod. But guess what? This is a very extensive article, 7 pages. Well,
Yeah.
the last one's really a picture, a little bit. But I would advise all of you to read this.
It's in Commonwealth magazine. You can find it online. You can also find it on newsstands now, because it is a print edition as well. And it's very interesting. And if you want it, it's commonwealthmagazine.org, politics/fall-rivers-lightning-rod. Lightning-rod. So you can easily find it.
Yeah, and you know, some of the stuff in this article is, you know, they're talking about us having our Moody's rating negative outlook has been removed, and we are, you know, the stabilization fund. But a lot of that, you know, you got to be a little skeptical about some of these things. We remember, I guess nobody has remembered yet that taking this override affects the bond rating.
Right.
So ultimately, we may be in that, and who knows if this stabilization fund is real money? Because remember the famous term coined by the city administrator under the Sutter administration:
Magic money.
magic money. This stabilization fund may be a lot of magic money. Because the reality is, you know, it's not unique to figure out that they said there's always a $3 million excess every year. And ironically enough, that's about the amount that the city has reported to the DOR for their savings in Blue Cross because of all the co-pays that they shifted to the employees. Because I've got the stats. That's the exact amount they gave them. This is what they've got. So is this magic money been shifted from, you know, again, until we get a full and independent forensic audit of this city, believe me, if I'm guessing that they're not accurate.
Well, what gets me is, I guess all the retirees and city employees are making up all that free cash.
That's right. Yeah, well, yeah, because
so I'll bet you they don't think it's free.
Oh, no, and that's the thing. The thing is that, you know, Kathy Ann continues to go up and mislead the city council again, and as that judge said, she was misrepresenting facts when she says that we're saving money on Blue Cross. We're not saving any money on Blue Cross. We didn't renegotiate fees for services. We didn't get lower doctor payments and lower fees for surgeries and medical coverage. What you did was you shifted the cost of that to the people. Before, you know, the copay. Now, if you go to Boston to a hospital, the employee has to pay $750 for walking in the door because it's a Boston hospital. That's $750 that the city puts in their pocket. They saved it out of their, you know, it's gone in their pocket. So they've generated $3 million a year, but she continues to go up and say it's a savings. It's not a savings. It's a savings to the city, not a savings in the plan. Health care doesn't cost any less in the city of Fall River because of what the city's done. It costs employees more and the city less. So let's be accurate. Just like the time she went up and said that the 2 times that they had to pay the employees back for basically stealing their money, of course they didn't call it stealing, it was just a mistake, you know, and I had to go before the council and basically tell them. She said it was the employees paying down their trust fund, which was an absolute lie. An absolute lie. That was the city paying back the money that they had stolen from the employees. In '91, it meant 3 free months of Blue Cross for every employee in the city and an $18 premium reduction for the remaining 9 months. 2008, it meant a payment holiday for all the city employees. And it wasn't because the employee trust fund had too much money because we were running so far under budget. It was because the city had to pay the money back, and I have the arbitration to prove it. And when I went up there and gave that presentation and sent a letter to every city councilor, our illustrious financial team came on to discuss something else, and there was never a word. She didn't rebut anything I said because it's absolute fact, and I can prove it. So when you begin to trust them that they're totally accurate about stabilization funds or anything that's got to do with money in this community, say the expletive word. Say it. Forensic.
Stop swearing already.
But don't look at our financial team because you might turn into a pillar of salt. So forgive me if I really don't believe what they say about our money. And I will never believe anything they say about our money because I sat in a meeting where they couldn't afford stamps. So you're telling me we got all kinds of money in a bank?
49 cents for a stamp, and they couldn't afford it. That's amazing.
And I got a witness too.
Well, like I said, this article made the mayor seem like a victim in some places. He talked about the gun on the dashboard. He talked about the midnight ride. The victim. He talked about his FBI investigation. It's all there. So I posted this on Facebook to get some feedback, and everyone came to the defense of the mayor. I think it's great. He's such a young go-getter, and that, you know, like him, don't like him, whatever the case may be, is irrelevant.
Well, you can like them what you want, but let's look at the city. We still got double the unemployment rate. We got no jobs. We've done nothing. What has he done? Give all his friends jobs and talk a lot.
Right, and this column talked about Ken Fiola and how Ken Fiola can now see government center from his new office digs, which don't look too bad for somebody who's in exile, and that, you know, Amazon's here and they created 2,000 jobs. They didn't create 2,000 jobs for the people of Fall River, though. So the article is slightly slanted. It's slightly slanted to give the mayor the good limelight that he needs, but at the same time, it's giving him a couple of jabs in the ribs.
Yeah. Well,
so I don't think it's balanced, but I think it's about as balanced as it's going to get.
No, hey, look, it's going to be subjective, but guess what? The fact is, you got to judge. You've got to judge. You know, we've heard a lot of promises, and including right now, it's ironic that this came out in the face of again talking about purple bags,
right,
which he's assured us we're going to get rid of, and then and Sean Kadim did bring up valid questions, and the reality is that look, he promised in last budget he was going to get rid of them. Now it's in this budget, and it was a campaign promise. But we still have the purple bags. And the irony is that all the time he's been mayor, we've had virtually no enforcement.
Exactly.
No enforcement of anything that's got to do with trash removal, including recyclables. We got the big thing about don't put plastic bags in your recycling. And every day when I drive by my street, I see a recycle bin full of shopping plastic bags that you get in the local supermarkets.
And the funny part about it is my recycling bin, I put out, and I check it. I check it the day of the recycling's being picked up, and there's no plastic bags. And what do I get in the mail? I get a warning in the mail saying that I had a plastic bag in my recycling. And I said, produce the picture. Produce the picture. And the enforcement officer turned around and said, CJ, you know what? I'm not even, I said, you don't have the picture, do you? He's like, don't worry about it. I'll take it off the record.
Yeah, and the thing is, how many times have people been walked by and put stuff in your trash?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. You got to put them out on the street. You know, the thing is that they're not going to come in your yard for them. You know, and the fact is that, you know, I mean, I had a dumpster on my property, in my driveway.
And they threw their trash in there.
You know, and I went out one day to move the stuff around and level it off because it was just about ready to get picked up. I had a TV set, another electronics, a computer, a TV set, and a couple of trash bags in my dumpster, none of which was mine.
Exactly.
So, and you know, and when you get a dumpster, you can't have electronic equipment and stuff like that in there. So, you know, I mean, it's... And that's one of the problems. The problem is that, look, if you go there and you look at somebody's recycle bin and it's got 17 plastic bags in there, you got to figure it's probably theirs. If you find one plastic bag, well, you might have reasonably, especially if you've been picking up at that house for years and you've never seen a plastic bag in their recycling or seen anything but purple bags in their trash. But you know, that's one of the other problems that's endemic. We're not saying it's easy, but enforcement's the key. But let's get to this Judge Denies appeal, because I know that this is near and dear to your heart, CJ.
Yeah, seeing that I'm named in it.
That's right. I know this is. So.
We talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, on the last show, yeah.
At the last show. But I find it amazing that Councilor Cliff Ponte turned around and says, we're not going to appeal this decision. And here is what it is. According to the written decision by the Superior Court Associate Justice Merritt A. Hopkins, the 4-9 members actually used more time than the committee members asking questions and commenting. Following the meeting, city resident C.J. Ferry, hello, filed an open meeting complaint with the Attorney General's office, stating that there was a violation because there was a quorum of the council and that the deliberations has ensued during the meeting. The council never advertised that there would be a joint meeting between the committee and the full council. This same issue may also exist currently with the Finance Committee meeting. In September 2016, Healy determined the City Council had violated the open meeting law and the deliberations had been between the committee members, and that a reasonable member of the public watching the recording of the meeting would have believed they were watching a joint meeting of the council and the committee. Healy ordered immediate compliance with the open meeting law. There wasn't even a fine attached to this complaint. But they went, and Judge Macy wasted money on appealing it.
Yeah, but you know the thing that gets me is we read all this stuff, and this is how like convoluted their process is. And if you look at the second to the last paragraph, it said, well, number one, the previous page it says that our corporation council's out of state until the end of the month.
Yeah,
so
isn't it nice to have such a great
pretty
job?
Nice, not a bad job, I guess. But now we get to that one. It says, Ponte said he intends to discuss the ruling with Macy, who is out of state until the end of the month, but that he will adhere to the judge's ruling. He wants a written opinion on how the council should proceed. That doesn't make any sense. They just told you, abide by the law.
Right.
And you're going to ask the guy who appealed a ruling and lost how to proceed. So obviously, he's not really that sharp on how you're supposed to adhere to it, because he appealed something that was a slam dunk. You know, you beat a guy that was a judge and a lawyer, because it's pretty simple. The open meeting law, and they give classes on the thing. There's booklets on the thing. You know, open up the book, Cliff. You know, don't ask the guy who just lost. If you want a golf lesson, do you go to the guy that finished last in the golf tournament?
Always.
Always. You know, come on. Jeez, I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like we're going to ask the Corporation Council. Why? The Corporation Council apparently doesn't understand the open meeting law either.
Well, interestingly enough, Ponte said he will explore whether the Ordinance Committee is in violation of the open meeting law due to its 5 members make up that could create a council quorum, which it does. It creates a quorum of the council. And this decision says that. This decision says that. It's not something you have to review with Judge Macy or with Joe Macy. You have to just create it as a 4-member council. It's that simple.
Why? Why? Because the law says so?
Yeah, exactly.
What does it matter with you?
And the problem is that that same situation occurs with the Finance Committee, because it's all 9 of them. Therefore, it should either be a joint meeting, or, as I gave him for an easy solution, move it from a Finance Committee before the City Council meeting to within the City Council meeting. Have it as the first part of the City Council meeting, and then roll into the full council meeting. Then you wouldn't have any problems. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about.
But that would be too easy.
I only file these complaints knowing what I'm talking about.
And won it.
And win them. Even when a judge, and a former judge, takes it to court, and the judge says, no, he's right, shut up.
But I mean, like I said, look, the open meeting law is not that complicated. I mean, look, you can get some statutes and get into some stuff that you read it and, you know, your head wants to explode because they're so long and they, you know, they try to say so many different things, and there are gray areas and stuff in a lot of statutes. But look, the open meeting law is not that difficult.
It's clear cut.
It's pretty clear cut. And like you said, it's not like you can't get it. I mean, I've got a copy of the open meeting law and the booklet about the open meeting law that answers not only the law, but various questions in various situations and scenarios. So, you know, how, you know, these things can go on sometimes can be a little puzzling, but it's not. As I get again, you hate to say this, but it's the same, we have the same explanation. This is Fall River. You know, if you see a wall, don't go around it. Run into it head first until you knock it down. So, you know, we just never wanted, you know, it's like we have a resistance to doing everything that everybody else does, like abide by the open meeting law. Like you said, the open meeting law is not some giant complex issue here.
It's only a law. That's
you look at most. You look at most other cities and towns. How many complaints have been filed multiple times against their councils, town councils? Not too often. Normally they learn after the first one. You know, didn't they just have a class down there on the open meeting?
We had one in New Bedford not that long ago. We had one in Fall River not that long ago. I mean, they hold them all over the state.
How many of our city council attended them?
I think 2.
2. Well, now we know why.
Yep.
They don't know the open meeting law.
That's it.
Because they don't, just like the rest of the material they get, and they go, well, I didn't read that.
That's it. Hey, Cannabis Commission picks 20 dispensaries to consider for recreational sales, and 2 are from Fall River. Imagine that. Canatech Medicinals at 160 Hartwell Street, which is the one behind the Applebee's, and Hope Hale Health at 1 West Street. So yes, people, Fall River will have 2 recreational marijuana facilities shortly.
Oh, God. Isn't that wonderful?
Hey, we need them bad. You know, we can't have enough drugs.
Hey, stay angry. Don't go to Boston today.
We'll see you on Friday, everyone.
See you on Friday.